I'm still trying to navigate this world where the Knicks are up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics. And we brought on Andrew Claudio, GMAC, the fearless leader and producer of the Game Theory podcast, avid Knicks fan, really the head honcho at Knicks Film School as well. Obviously, the title GMAC here stands for GM Andrew Claudio. To talk about this, because I think that after the first game, I was in the bucket of, look, this was definitely like a shooting variance kind of game where the Celtics missed, I think I counted 6 wide open free throws and then went crazy low from 3. I actually think that game 2, as much as the Celtics also shot 25% from 3 and went 10 for 40 from 3, real case here. I think that game 2 was more about the Knicks performing well on defense than it was about shooting variance and whatever else you want to throw out there with this. I thought that they just played really well, particularly in that late comeback in the fourth quarter, to be able to get that thing steady. And also the Celtics continue to play clogged toilet bullshit offense in a way that frustrates any human being that watches basketball. Andrew, let's maybe go to you first. You are on mute as well.
So I am also still trying to comprehend this world that the Knicks are 2 wins away from the conference finals. So much was made about their inability to beat the good teams in the NBA, specifically the top 3 teams in the sport. They went 0-10 against the Celtics, the Thunder, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you want to throw the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Clippers in there, fine. A lot was made about how this team, the vibes, if you want to call it that, were just off. And this wasn't last year's team where everything was great and we beat teams with the power of friendship. And through 2 games, it appears they may have built exactly what they needed in this whole Wingstop program of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby and at times Josh Hart. And I got to give him credit, Mitchell Robinson. And when they can go to those lineups, really bearing down and getting some stops. And look, say what you want about Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. I think they're holding their own to an extent when it comes to this all switch defense that they've been playing the last 2 days. Look, I disagree about, I think, yes, the first game was the game I give their defense more credit. And what happened for 2 days about the Celtics going 15 of 60 for 3. I actually thought the Knicks wanted those shots. They put the Celtics in a ton of isolation, which is why they switched everything. And I was staring at the Celtics missing wide open shots in tonight's fourth quarter when I was just waiting for the flurry of 3 straight threes that would make the Knicks fake comeback go away. A 21-2 run for the Knicks over the final, I think it was the final 7 minutes in which the Celtics
I can give you the exact time. It was the 8:30 mark to the 1 minute mark of the fourth quarter was the 21-2 run.
The Celtics hit 1 shot over that course of the 8:31 mark you said until the end of the game, and it was a Jason Tatum dunk to give them a 1-point lead with 20 seconds left. I am processing this reality that the Knicks are now up 2-0 according to a lot of the betting markets. They have not just like a puncher's chance, but now a real chance to win 2 of your next 4 games, and you've dethroned the champs. And I'm trying to process while also analyze how they got here and how sustainable it is for 2 more games. That is my rational, coherent way of reacting to what these last 2 games have been.
So, Bryce, let's go there. How sustainable do you think this is for the Knicks on... Let's go with defense, because holding the Celtics to 105 and 90 points is realistically the reason that they're up 2-0. The fact that the Celtics have not gone nuclear on offense yet.
Yeah, I mean, so this script is not sustainable. I don't think they're going to win 2 more games of the next 5, getting down by 20 at some point in the third quarter and making a comeback.
Yeah.
I actually am a little more with, I will say this. I was prepared to do a video breakdown on why the Knicks offense was so bogged down in this game. Like that midway through the third quarter, that's where my mind was. I was going to go clip, and that's not what I'm going to do now. I'm going to break down the 20-point comeback because that's just more fun and more exciting. But I thought the Knicks offense was very bogged down and very ISO heavy and very like, Jalen, it's your turn. Now Jalen's out. Now Kat, it's your turn. Oh, OG, you haven't got a possession in a while. Now you get the ball. Mikal, you haven't scored yet. So now you get the ball for a few possessions. And I didn't like that, but they eventually figured it out. They started making shots. I thought the defense was better in the first half. Actually, I think I agree with both of you on the defensive end. GMAC, I think the Celtics missed wide open shots. I assume that's part of the breakdown tomorrow is like, hey, sometimes you have to get lucky to come back from 20 points on a good team in terms of them missing shots. But I actually thought they disrupted the Celtics in the first half. Like I thought they did some good things defensively early on. They couldn't get any offense going to really make it look as good as what it could have.
So, okay. I want to give the Knicks a lot of credit here to start. Like before I go into what I'm going to say, the way that Jalen Brunson has just completely taken over these late game situations, it never ceases to amaze me. I have so much more faith and confidence in him than I do anybody else on the court at this point in the like final 5 minutes of a game. And that's the reality. And this comes from somebody who made the statement in the first round that I thought Jason Tatum over his last like 3 games that he played in that 5-game series of Orlando looked like the best player in the playoffs to this point. So I think Jalen Brunson like didn't have his most efficient night, obviously tonight, 17 points, 7 assists, 2 turnovers, 6 for 19 from the field. I thought that the Celtics did a pretty good job bottling him up. I thought Drew Holiday deserved some credit for that. I thought that Towns had a monster night tonight. Like the ability to create second chance opportunities in timely ways. I know that he only had 3 offensive rebounds, but they came like in big spots, it felt like to me. And then on top of it, he drilled a couple of like huge, like baseline jumpers. Obviously, I thought was super physical and dealing with switches as well. This was a game where he actually took advantage of his size in a big way, with the Celtics being willing to switch on defense against him. And I think that is very much deserving of credit. Mikal in the fourth quarter, like Mikal Bridges in the fourth quarter. I don't know if he earned all of the pick capital that they gave up for him, but he at least earned 1 pick alone in the fourth quarter. That one single quarter is worth 1 pick to me in the first round. That was unbelievable to me. What he was able to do as a scorer, obviously the block at the end. I thought he was awesome on defense throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter, honestly. And I think he's actually been pretty good defensively throughout the course of this series. I do think this is a little bit more about Boston than it is about the Knicks. And what Boston is doing and not doing is driving me insane. They are not nearly enough, in my opinion, attacking ball screens where Brunson is the like quote unquote big defender, the screen defender. I don't think that the Knicks have looked good in any circumstance where they have done that the entire series. And there are moments where it's like Drew Holiday, they do it in an empty side of the court. Drew Holiday just slips to the rim and scores. There are times where, in the fourth quarter, one of the wide open missed threes that I believe GMAC referenced was him and who was it? I have it in my notes. I think it was Mitch. They get caught in just like a total miscommunication where Brunson is showing and then trying to recover. Mitch thinks he's like supposed to go and stay attached. And like, it just leaves Jaylen Brown completely and utterly wide open for 3. And he just totally misses. I think that what has kind of gone a little bit, what I missed, maybe I'll start here. What I missed in assessing this series is that Towns actually might not be a bad defender for playing against Tatum and Brown. I'm not saying that they don't have an advantage on him. They do for sure. But if you're going to switch him, these two guys, with the way that they've played this year particularly, and with Jalen like not playing well, frankly, like Jalen has been terrible, I think, in these two games. He had a really good second quarter tonight, but outside of that has been like dreadful, I think. Those two guys, more than anything, like to try and bully you to get to the rim. Like they just try and put their shoulder into you, put their shoulder into you, put their shoulder into you, and try and back you down. And that doesn't really get the defense into rotation at all. If you have a bunch of big, strong dudes like Towns, Brunson is not like a catastrophe against Jaylen Brown whenever he's in a switch scenario, because he's able to get his lower half like underneath him and use his lower center of gravity just to keep Jalen away from the rim and make Jalen elevate over the top for these mid-range jumpers. I think the Celtics are falling into that trap too often, where they're just merely trying to attack mismatches and trying to isolate mismatches, as opposed to what I think really worked in the third quarter, particularly, which is when they got into actual ball screen actions and made Townsend drop, try and guard, multiple guys at the same time. He got caught in no man's land a couple times. I thought Mitch got caught in no man's land one time on a cornet, like just dive to the rim and dunk, right? I think they're not doing a good enough job of making these guys communicate and like guard in spaces, and are making it a little bit too easy on the Knicks. Where do you guys fall on that?
Oh, I'll go first. Okay. So I agree with you about the third quarter, specifically Townsend dropped. I was confused why Towns was in drop, because he wasn't in foul trouble and the switching had been really effective. Yeah. I'm not, and you could tell, because the fan part of me is just very much in shock that Knicks are up 2-0, that I don't think the Knicks have played all that well. They were down 20 in both games. And then
I don't either. I agree with you.
The anatomy of a comeback, usually a lot has to go right for you. Like you get really hot from shooting, you get a ton of stops. And that's how I thought they came back in game one. And to your point about Mikal Bridges, 14 points in the fourth quarter tonight, has played 94 minutes in 2 games so far. Worth every pick as far as I'm concerned. Brooklyn should have asked for more. I think in my previews for this series and leading up to it, and look, I'm not going to pretend like I went into this with any hint of confidence. I was very thankful they survived the Detroit series. But one of the things was like, if you force Tatum and Brown to go mismatch hunting, that takes them out of the flow of their offense. And like you said, they like to bully you. And if fine, go ahead, take advantage of Jalen Brunson in on your drive, Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. If it leads to 2 points, then you're not hitting 25 threes. And I think the Knicks have somewhat baited them into them playing as poorly as they have, while recognize the requirement is still there for them to play poorly, because you are forcing them to take advantage of weaker defenders. I think Brunson has been very good on the defensive end. As far as the cat and how I still have issues with him as a rim protector, I think when he was playing drop in the third quarter, and then that's why I would love for just somebody to ask, like, why did they switch to drop? Because I understood game one when it happened, because he was in foul trouble and you want to be a little more conservative. I didn't understand why they went to that in the third quarter of game 2, and the comeback didn't start until they subbed him out for Mitchell Robinson. Yeah. And look, we're sitting here and the Knicks had a 95 offensive rating. I have so many issues. Bryce, I would have loved to watch that breakdown on the Knicks Film School YouTube channel of the Knicks offense and how bad it has been. And this is going to be a segue over to you. The Knicks have not played well enough to be up 2-0, and they are, which is why I do agree that there's a lot more going on with Boston, who I thought was overwhelmingly better going into the series. And the margin has just closed to where I don't have like overwhelming confidence they can win 2 more games, but I also recognize the hill is not as high for them to climb anymore.
Yeah, and just to be real clear, like I completely agree with your point that the Knicks are playing great defense and are baiting these guys into like feeding into what the Knicks want to do on defense right now. It is like those guys like Tatum and Brown are making terrible decisions, and that's a huge piece of this right now to me.
So to your guys' point, this is interesting. Let's play a little bit of trivia. I think we would all guess that Boston had the lowest 2-point field goal attempts per game in the regular season, right? We would in the NBA, right? We all know this. At 41.2, do either of you know how many 2-pointers they took tonight?
I do.
I mean, I literally have the box score up. So
54. Yeah. They took 54 tonight. Now, here's the thing about the Boston Celtics from 2. Either of you want to guess what they shot from 2 during the season?
I would guess exceptionally high because of the gravity of the 3-pointer.
57%, which was 3rd in the NBA. Want to guess what they shot from 2-pointers tonight against the New York Knicks on those 54 attempts?
44.
44% from 2. So
good math. Holy shit.
So, I mean, just to your guys' point of the Knicks are forcing them into 2-pointers. They're forcing them into contested 2-pointers because if there's one thing New York does, it's have some size and strength and those type of things. And there was a lot, like as I rack my brain, there's like, okay, even when Jaylen Brown was making shots, a lot of them, not all of them, were contested shots, right? Like I think he got my guy Josh Hart a couple times in that second quarter, but Hart made him work and then contested the next one. You're never going to get anything easy on OG. I agree with you, Sam. I think Mikal has been good. I thought Cat was good tonight. It's just like they're gonna have a couple games where they make threes, GMAC, right? The Knicks aren't gonna sweep the series, I don't think. But
at this point, anything's on the table. But
anything's on the table. Yes. But the thing is, you've stole 2 already, and so they can have 2 crazy 3-point shooting games, and that's only 2-2. So they've got these 2 and. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a couple more 3-point shooting games where they don't shoot it well. It's just, those are interesting numbers to me that Boston shot 54 2s and shot that poorly on those 2s.
Well, so the stat I looked at when I was tracking in the first half, they shot 29 2s in the first half compared to 21 3s. And it seemed like there had been an emphasis on the way the Knicks were playing them. Fine, get to the paint, get to the restricted area, and we will do our best to take advantage of the fact that they're trying to take away the 3 as best as possible. And you live with that ratio, which is why I was more frustrated with the Knicks offense. And then in the second half, I believe it was about even. It was like 25-19, but it was still more 2s than 3s. And that's the formula, you know, like they took 60 in game 1, but a lot of those were when they were already up by 20. Jalen Brunson is 15-42 in this series. He's shooting 35% from the field and they're up 2-0. This is not how I imagined if the Knicks were going to be up 2-0 that they would get there.
Well, and to speak to the point on everything being contested from Bryce, this stat also speaks to everything being very tightly, contested on the interior. Do you know what the Celtics turnover rate was tonight?
I don't.
17.6. Do you know what their turnover rate was in the season this year? It was 12.2. I was
going to say 12.
That was second best in the league. 17.6 would be worst in the league.
Wow.
So everything that the Celtics are doing, everything that the Knicks are doing as well, is baiting the Celtics into, all right, let's try and attack these, post ups, and let's try and attack these undersized guards like Brunson and everything, with particularly Jaylen Brown, and try to just attack him and just shoot up over the top of him or get to the rim or bury him underneath the basket, right? And he's strong enough to deal with that, or at least strong enough to deal with that until the help comes over and is able to work with that. And B, that's the other piece of this. OG Anunoby is coming over from the weak side and doing an amazing job of timing his help rotations in doubles in order to make the sight lines way more difficult. There's a reason Jaylen Brown had 6 turnovers tonight. I thought OG particularly, but also to an extent, like Mikal and Josh Hart were really, really good tonight at creating those like havoc help rotations and doubles where Brown just didn't have the ability to be able to make those reads. And this has been the problem with Jaylen Brown's game, like throughout the course of his career. If you can convince him to be able to become like the primary playmaker where he's attacking mismatches and like, okay, great. And then you can do late doubles and kind of force him into being a passer. He just doesn't see that well. And he never really has.
Real quick, I mean, 4 steals for OG. I thought he was incredible off the ball, along with his on the ball point of attack defense. Mikal had 3, obviously the one to end the game. I assume he got credit for that one. I think he ended up with the ball. And then the other guy, you shouted him out, GMAC. I wish this guy could shoot free throws because then he would be able to stay on the floor more. I think it's also funny that like they're calling each other's bluffs, like between the coaches. It was like, Tibbs like, I don't think you're going to foul him again, or, you know, whatever. And then the fact they did foul him again to get all the way to the penalty. I was like, Joe, what are you doing? He literally sent OG to the scores table and brought him back because he was testing you to see if you would foul him again. You knew he was going to take his ass out as soon as anyway. But Mitchell Robinson had really good energy plays and had 3 steals himself is where I was initially going with that.
Yeah.
That free throw was
dreadful. Yeah.
Disgusting. But everything else about Mitchell Robinson, I really like.
So to your point, Bryce, and this is, I don't want to turn this into a Thibodeau conversation, but there's a hint of chess that he's winning against. I know Joe Mazzulla likes to play basketball, likes to coach basketball, theorizing it via chess.
Which
like,
is hysterical because they just hired that former chess prodigy or whatever.
Oh, did they really? Oh, that's even better.
Yeah,
so that's
like some former chess prodigy.
The stretch you're talking about when I believe the Knicks had, it was like 2.5 minutes left, right? So they were just outside of the stretch where it would be you're allowed to intentionally foul.
It was, I have it in my notes. 2:45, Celtics up 4. We were coming from a timeout where they changed the Bridges 2 to a 3. So we came from the timeout. I jumped in your stream to give my guy Josh Hart some love real quick and then bounced back out. Knicks ball, Celtics up 4 in this situation. And then what you're talking about is about to happen.
Back-to-back intentional fouls. Yep. And the first one that happens, you see OG come to the scorer's table and you think, okay, they're going to make this up now. Tibbs recognizes, all right, if he does it again, I'm in the penalty for the final 2.5 minutes. Correct. How did the Knicks take the lead with 12 seconds left? A Jalen Brunson foul that only is 2 free throws if they're in the penalty. So that preparedness, that chess, that forward thinking is why all the warts. I have no idea if he can create a good offense for the rest of this series to complete the job here. I have no idea if Tom Thibodeau has that in him. But my God, is he pushing so many of the right buttons on defense and along the margin moves, like the situational subbing, navigating the intentional fouling of Mitchell Robinson, going to OG at the 5 during a stretch in game 1. Like every single thing he's doing, it on the defensive end. I should clarify that on the defensive end. Seems to be working. And it's why a series I thought was going to be his last, maybe the one that ensures he's here for a long time. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but I've been very, very satisfied with the coaching job that Tom Thibodeau's done for the first 2 games.
I think he's demolishing Mazzulla right now. Yeah, absolutely demolishing him. Like, it feels like to me, the Celtics are in this zone where they feel like, oh, the threes will fall eventually. Like, we shouldn't abandon the process, right? Especially after game 1, now game 2, they go 10 for 40 again. Like, I honestly wonder if they're just going to come out and do the same thing again in game 3, like genuinely. And, maybe if you're a Boston fan, like you expect like some more ball screen attacks and like you expect some more like actual sets to try and get the Knicks into rotation so that they aren't just like, scramble doubling and then like rotating out of it. Right. And like, I'm just not sure. I'm not saying that like Joe Mazzulla can't adjust. Like, I think that, there have been moments where he has, like, I thought last year he was okay. It is to me really just like, I don't know if they're going to. Like, I really wonder if they're going to look at this as just like, hey, the shots are going to fall. We're going to be fine at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, like, if that's what how they look at it. I mean, I feel like this is how they play. They shoot a bunch of threes. It didn't seem like there was a great flow. Like that's my thing with it. No. Is there's just not a great flow, and however you want to say it, energy in the basketball, whatever your term is, whatever your coach speak is, it just seemed like that's lacking right now. And it does. Here's the scary thing for the Knicks. Once they find it again, then they find that flow and they can be hard to deal with. They had a little bit of a stretch in the third quarter where they went on a little bit of run for just a little, whenever they extended it out to 20. We just haven't seen it for an extended quarter or an entire half, let alone a whole game. But I don't see them changing their, I put in the Josh Hart breakdown. I snuck in at the very end, the Drew Holiday ball screen stuff, because Detroit brought Jalen Brunson into the ball screen a lot, but then they just popped off of it. Well, what Drew Holiday did in the first game was he would roll out of it. And that's a hard recovery for Jalen Brunson to hard hedge and then get to the roll, or Drew Holiday would slip because Brunson plays on the high side so he can be there early. I don't remember much of it in this game of them doing like it just. I feel like when they ran like some traditional ball screens,
some early for what it's worth, they did a little bit of it early, but then later in the game there was like none of it.
And I think just like traditional ball screen stuff as well, I thought they were successful. Like I felt like they got Porzingis going a little bit in that third quarter. It's just I would like to see some more of that, because I mean, even going back to the Pistons series, I don't know the Knicks have defended just like even traditional ball screens well in that series. So, but I don't know.
Well, and here's the other thing about defense too. Like, we are going on 2 years of Karl Anthony Towns, like being able to deal with physical matchups in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, if you get him in space, if you make him like rotate, if you make him make decisions, if you make him like be the weak side help man. That's the processing where Cat gets it wrong a decent amount of the time. If it's just I'm switching and I just have to like body up and deal with Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, who are just like trying to go into my body. Again, like I think he can kind of do that. Like, but at the end of the day too, if I'm Boston and that's the strategy that the Knicks are going to try and employ, what I'm doing is I'm setting ball screens like 40 feet from the rim at that point. I'm saying, okay, you want to do that? Correct. Be my guest. I'm going to go and say, okay, Jaylen Brown, you're fucking 45 times more athletic than Karl Anthony Towns. We're going to get you just downhill going to the rim, and you just have to turn the corner on Cat in that circumstance. Right. But that shouldn't be that shouldn't be difficult for Mazzulla to figure out. You know what I mean? And like they did it a little bit with like some double ball screens, like on each side, where they were trying like super extended, like horns actions. And it was never more than like 30 feet from the rim. I'm saying like, get these things way high and just let Jalen Brunson get way downhill. And then you force like kickouts. Let Jason Tatum, like in the play where he beat Mitchell Robinson to the rim and finish to get it to 90 points and have them take a 1-point lead. Set the ball screen super high, guys. Like this is how you beat them. You don't beat them by playing like a tight, congested, gross basketball game.
Yeah, I agree. GMAC?
I'm enjoying listening to you guys make sense of what I've watched, because I can't. I'm trying to analyze it, and I don't. Again, the Knicks have not played like a team that should be up 2-0 in the series, and everything the Celtics should quote unquote change is everything I was afraid of going into this series. Like that they're just going to hit like 2 more threes and be up 2-0 in the series, So
yes, you're right about that, but Tibbs has coached like a coach that should be up 2-0.
Yeah,
in this series, like we said. So like, yes, do I think this should probably be 1-1? Like, or maybe even like 2-0 Celtics if like they had made 5 more threes or something? Like, sure, whatever. But that's not the reality. The Celtics didn't close in crunch time, just like the Pistons didn't close in crunch time, because Jalen Brunson exists and continues to be as clutch as any player in the league, having just won this award. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
like I can't sit here and hate on the Knicks. I think they deserve to be up 2-0 for
Let
sure.
me be clear. I'm not taking anything away from the Knicks. And this maybe can be how I leave you, because I do want to get an outsider from the Knicks bubble's thoughts on the rest of the series. And it's like, where are you in the sense of, can the Knicks win 2 more games with exactly what you've seen the first 2? Or is this you see me stumbling over my words. I don't know how to process.
My answer is I think they have to figure out the offense a little bit.
I agree.
I did not like the offense tonight. I think defensively, if Boston does some of the things Sam's talking about, that's a little bit scary, but you already have the 2-0 lead. So even if Boston has 2 incredible games or whatever, New York has shown their resilience. They've shown their talent. Tibbs has showed his coaching chops, all of those things. So can they? Yes. I think they have to make some adjustments of their own in terms of getting the offense flowing a little bit. And I think one of the things I was going to break down is look at the shot diet for Brunson whenever there's an off the ball action, when he's relocating or coming off a screen or something like that. That was what I was going to show, is hey, Tibbs, get him off the ball a little bit, make his life a little bit easier, as opposed to him having to, and playing out of the cat post ups and some stuff like that. But I mean, you mentioned the thing that we talked about leading into the Pistons series, the team kind of lacked this attitude, this toughness. Well, this team just played 6 straight 1-score games, and they've won 5 of the 6. So there's obviously something to their mental, emotional, whatever makeup that they've tapped into right now. And it's hard for that to just go away in the middle of a playoff run, in my opinion.
Bryce, I was thinking it during the monologue we were doing for our Knicks Film School postgame show. Thank you, Detroit. You gave them something to go through.
No, yeah. I don't want to do this as somebody that covers the Pistons, but I'm I think there's something to that. I think Detroit gave them what they needed to go through to maybe reach their potential, which sounds really weird. And I promise I'm not trying to just give the Pistons a compliment just because, but it was this tough physical, we're going to play super hard and you better match it if you actually want to get out of this series. And New York did, and they won the series, rightfully so. And they were better coming out of that series, don't you think?
So as a result, the compliment you give Detroit, all of us talked about what the talent discrepancy was, how far you go down the list of best players in the series until you get to a second Piston. And that was an either or series for most of the 6 games. The Knicks are facing a Celtics team. How far do you go before you get to a second Knick, a third Knick? What the Celtics have done to them all season has shown a gigantic gap. But the Knicks weren't able to sleepwalk through a first round. They actually had to earn the second round. And now they're battle tested. And it's something that I'm appreciative of. And it's why my biggest confidence as a fan is that now these are things I felt last year, that no matter what, the Celtics might hit 100 threes at the Garden on Saturday. But even if they're up 20 in the third quarter, the Knicks have come back twice from that. I will wait until the final score is up there before I know
here's the
how
thing.
The game ends.
I can tell you if you know they're going to come back or not. If my guy Josh Hart hits a 3 immediately as the Celtics take a 20-point lead, the Knicks are making the comeback, because it happened in both of them.
We're making the same correlation tonight. Because he hit a 3, then someone else on the Celtics hit a 3, and then OG hit 2 threes in game 1. He hit a 3 tonight, and then we were all right, so who's going to hit the 2 threes for the Knicks tonight to make the comeback? I can't believe they've blown 2 20-point leads to the Knicks. I can at home too. My God.
Here's the other piece of this too. I can't remember if it was Andrew or Bryce. You brought up the idea of can the Knicks win 2 out of 5 now at this point to win the series? I'm looking at this literally the opposite way. I'm wondering, can the Celtics win 4 out of 5 now?
Sure.
Because that's the reality of what they have to do. They have to win 4 out of 5 games. There's a reason that a lot of teams don't come back from 0-2 down. Winning 4 out of 5 in a playoff series is really difficult.
With a hampered Porzingis, right? I mean, that's something we haven't brought up. I'm not trying to make excuses or downplay what the Knicks have done, but Porzingis comes off the bench tonight and plays how many minutes? It was
didn't look good either.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played 14.
I was gonna say it was definitely under 20. I would have said under 15. And Horford didn't shoot it well tonight. He was 0 of 5 from 3. Hauser wasn't able to play. Like
Hauser is actually also like a really important loss for them, because Hauser allows them to maintain size on the court in a lot of their rotations where they still have multiple guards that can initiate offense out on the court. But with him out, they then have to go to Pritchard, who's just way smaller and is like a real, I wouldn't say he's defensive liability, but like he's just smaller and he's a little bit easier to attack in certain circumstances. So it is just a very different rotation that they have to run, in my opinion, with Pritchard. While Pritchard is essentially doing very similar things to what Hauser is doing when, the stars are on the court, he's just doing it at 6'2" versus 6'8" with Hauser.
Well, here's what's crazy too, GMAC. Brunson didn't even play 40 tonight. OG didn't play 40 tonight. Cat only played 35, and they get 2 days off now. They get Thursday and Friday before going back home. So we can't even be like, well, they played 47 both nights. I mean, I know like Bridges and Anunoby do what they do, but with Brunson, it's like he may actually have the legs to finish this thing out because of the minutes.
Back to a marginal coaching thing real quick. So we have, when they take out Brunson and Cat for Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson. I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you did, Sam. We called it the Hodor lineup. Just hold the door. Like that's all we're asking. Spoiler alert for anybody who's never seen Game of Thrones. But like that lineup doesn't have Cat, doesn't have Brunson, but it's just like hold the door. Like that's all we need you to do is don't let them in. And Tibbs started the fourth quarter with it rather than going to Campaign, who was the very definition of a Tasmanian devil. We just didn't know what was going to happen in the first half. So him going to that lineup, and they only lost it by 2 points when Brunson was able to get his rest. And then he comes back and OG sits and he goes to the double big, and then the comeback begins. He goes, that's when the 21-2 run starts. I understand how it looks offensively. I appreciate that he's trying things that even when I'm like, all right, I don't know about this, but I recognize you need stops right now, and he's been getting them.
No single shot has ever pissed me off more than Campaign shot tonight when Cat was on like an 8-0 run by himself and he
dominating the post. Hakeem 8 straight points, and he calls his own number Leroy Jenkins style. Campaign. I couldn't believe it.
No pass transition pull up 3, and I'm like, bro, okay, put in Shamit or Kolek, put in Tyler Kolek.
Literally anybody else. Put in Bryce Simon at this point, man.
I mean, I would have made it, but
you wouldn't have done that. Is the point.
So I guess here's where I'm at on this series now. I think it's I don't know, the odds markets have it at 50-50. They have I think it's -110, right? I think I would say 55-45 Knicks right now. I'd even go a little bit more aggressively just because Porzingis does not look good. I don't think Jaylen Brown looks good. That's actually the sneaky thing that I don't know. I don't listen to many other basketball podcasts, really any of them. So I don't know if other people have been noticing this, but Jaylen Brown does not look great to me. He's had a couple of moments where he can really elevate and get up and you see the explosiveness, but to me, he is an important piece of this. And then Missoula recognizing that you can initiate offense 45 feet from the rim as opposed to 30 feet or 28 feet from the rim. Right. Those are the critical parts of this series to me now, because it doesn't seem to me that Porzingis is going to be at 100%.
Agreed.
Moving forward. I think that's a fairly reasonable assessment here. But the Celtics are a team where shooting variance is very plausible for them. Negative shooting variance in multiple games is very plausible for them in a 5-game set where they shoot 25% from 3 multiple times. And I don't know that they have answers if they do that at this point, based off of these 2 games. So I think I would give the advantage, cautiously to the Knicks at this point in this series is where I'm at. I think it's very close. I think it's 50. Like I said, I'd say it's 55-45, but I do think I kind of think it's New York has the slight edge to me.
You both were at Celtics in 5 before the series?
I was, yep.
For sure. I was almost in 4. Like,
Gotta be honest. So was I. I was Celtics in 5, and I was like, "Where's the 1 coming from?" It's why, like, we didn't talk after game 1, but my reaction for the most part after game 1 was like, "Oh, that was great. They got their 1," and we celebrated it. And for 2 days, it was great. And my attitude watching tonight was like, "Hey, at least Saturday is going to be fun when they come back to the Garden." Now, the circumstances have changed just a tad, and I cannot. I mean, we're doing all our prep for Knicks at Knicks Film School for what we're gonna do for game 3, but man, Madison Square Garden now with the conference finals, and this can be your guys' segue into talking about what else is going on in the playoffs. Like, what's going on with the Cavs and the Pacers? Like, the Knicks would have home court if both the Pacers and Knicks advanced, and that's not something we expected at all going into these playoffs, let alone into this series. So, giddy up from a Knicks side of things, that's for sure. And if you'd like to check out, I'll let this be my sign off, Stan. If you'd like to check out more of our content, including breakdowns from Bryce Simon over at the Knicks Film School YouTube channel, by all means, please search for us. He's been killing it to unanimous praise from the Knicks Film School audience. He has been awesome. A Jalen Brunson breakdown, a Josh Hart breakdown. Check out Bryce Simon's content over at Knicks Film School.
And just before you leave, like, here's the other thing too. Like, I know the Celtics have been better on the road this year than they have been at home. Like, that is a reality of their team this year. I would not want to be going into the Garden down 2-0 with the way that fan base is going to be. That thing is going to be electric in 2 nights or 3 nights, I guess, from now.
Yeah.
That thing is going to be on fire. Like, people were talking about, I think it was the Cavs arena, like, being as loud as they have heard an arena in the game 1 of the semifinals against the Pacers. Like, I can't imagine how ready to explode Madison Square Garden is going to be. It's going to be insane. It's going to be unbelievable. Like, I can't wait for that game.